Thank you very much. I want to welcome you to the annual Sherborn Citizens Caucus. and my name is George Fisk, and I work with Janet Walsh and Jennifer Bethel, who are work with me on the caucus committee, and I certainly right off the bat want to thank them so much for their hard work and helping to organize for this evening's event. We do have some guests I'd like you to introduce to you. First of all, I believe our representative David Linsky is here and would like to say a few words. If you would, David.
Thank you, George, and thank you for the opportunity to just say good evening. It's an honor and a privilege to be here. I love coming to this event every year. I got my start in government as a town meeting member in Natick and a member of the Conservation Commission in Natick. And to see so many people here taking an active role in their local government is very much a heartening sight. It really is. At a time when people don't necessarily have a lot of faith in government institutions and institutions in general, it's really great to see so many people here. And I want to just thank you for attending and thanking everybody who is going to volunteer their time and their service and their efforts to try to make Sherborn a great place to live, which it already is. It's so important. Local government has more direct effect on your everyday lives than Congress does, than the President of the United States does, and I don't want my colleagues to know this, than state government does. I really truly believe that. It means whether or not your streets get plowed, whether or not the potholes get filled, whether or not your kids have a good place to go to school, whether or not your drinking water is clean, whether or not it's a well-planned out town. And those are really the most important basic services. And so I just want to take a minute and thank everybody for their participation in their process, and for those people who are going to run or be drafted into run and drafted into serving on local government. I just want to say thank you. It's an honor and a privilege to represent the 4,200 great people of this town. I've done it for 18 years. I'm going to try to do it for at least a couple more. So I really want to appreciate your support and have a great caucus. So thank you very much.
I kidded David when he first arrived, and that this was his annual meeting to Sherborn, annual visit to Sherborn. But I know he's here much more frequently than that. Appreciate your coming out tonight, David. We also are fortunate, as has been the case the last couple of years, to hear from some student directors of the Sherborn Community Center Foundation. We are so fortunate to be able to hold this meeting in this facility. It's wonderful not only for us, but for so many other organizations and events that take place during the course of the year, and we are certainly very appreciative, have been and continue to be, to the foundation for its support. We have two student directors here with us this evening. The first is a fellow by the name of Jack Green, who I know would like to say a few words to us. So Jack, why don't you come on up?
Thank you, Mr. Fisk, for your kind introduction, and good evening. My name is Jack Green, and I'm one of the student directors here at the Sherborn Community Center. I would like to take this opportunity to welcome you all to the 2018 Sherborn Town Caucus. The venue for tonight's meeting is one of Sherborn's finest and historic buildings. This building was built in 1858, and after 160 years of existence, it continues to thrive as a gathering place for all of Sherborn's residents. The 1858 house is the home of the community, offering and hosting the many meaningful and worthwhile events that Sherborn has to offer, and now also shares the space with the library during its renovation. The community center and all of the benefits it offers to the town are managed by the Sherborn Community Center Foundation. The foundation is a nonprofit charitable corporation that depends on the generosity of private citizens like you to maintain and operate the building and to continue its mission. Members of the Foundation's Board of Directors are here tonight. You probably saw them downstairs in the lobby. They are available to provide further information about all the work that the Community Center does and to answer any questions you might have. Since the inception of the Student Directors Program, we have worked very hard to create a series of events and activities geared towards high school students. The Student Director's mission is to provide high school students a fun, safe, and substance-free environment to hang out. We offer enjoyable and engaging activities such as dances, movie nights, game nights, and live high school musical performances. These all help to raise funds and, more importantly, provide a gathering place for all to meet. I ran for the position of student director to help create a positive venue with hospitable activities for my community of Dover-Sherborn students at the Sherborn Community Center. As I speak for the Foundation and the student directors, I send a big thank you to all the volunteers and donors for their wonderful support, and it is because of their generosity that we have this wonderful jewel to share with our community. I'm very proud and excited to be a part of this organization and a part of this community, and I thank you. I would now like to introduce to you Bryn Rocket.
Good evening. Thank you, Jack, again. Good evening. Thank you, Jack. Again, my name is Bryn Rocket, and I am also a student director here at the Sherborn Community Center. I would like to take a moment to reflect upon the Sherborn Community Center's Foundation's mission statement. It states, to promote a sense of community by ensuring that this community center is available to and used by Sherborn groups and organizations at minimal or no cost, and to fund, preserve, maintain, and schedule the use of this historic building. Tonight, I am proud to report that after more than 30 years since the Foundation was formed, they continue to fulfill this mission statement. We are truly a place for everyone. I am proud to be a part of this organization and in making this a better place for young people in our town. The Sherborn Student Directors run several events each year. The cornerstones are Jammin' in the Red and the Vote and Donate food drive for a place to turn. Thanks to your help, this drive collected over a ton of food during the last elections. Please give yourselves a round of applause. Your donations help so many people in need. Thank you. My passion for music led me to run for the position of student director so I can keep Jammin' in the Red alive. Jammin' in the Red is an evening where high school musicians can perform for a high school audience. Jammin' in the Red was one of my most meaningful interactions with the Student Director program and this community center, and being a student director allows me to keep this important and meaningful work alive. Thank you all for coming to tonight's town caucus and participating in this important political process. I wish all the candidates the best of luck, and thank you all for your commitment in making Sherborn great.
A special thanks to both Jack and Bryn. I think the best part of caucus is over. So anyway, thank you so much. I will now go through the formality of reading the caucus call. In accordance with provisions of Chapter 53 of the General Laws of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and amendments thereto, if any, a caucus of the registered voters of the town of Sherborn, Massachusetts is hereby called to be held at the 1858 Townhouse, Sherborn, Massachusetts, on Thursday, March 1st, 2018 at 8 p.m. for the purpose of nominating candidates for the various town offices to be filled at the annual town election, for the election of officers to be held on Tuesday, May 9, 2018, to elect a town caucus committee, and to transact any other business that may legally come before the meeting. The meeting will be called to order by a member of the town committee. Checklists of registered voters will be used. That is now done. Thank you. The next order of business is to elect a clerk for caucus. So at this time, I will entertain a motion for nominations for clerk of the caucus. Do I hear a nomination coming down the pike? Mother's helpful.
Yes. Jana Walsh, and I would like to nominate Sue Anderson for clerk.
Sue Anderson has been nominated for clerk of the caucus. Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, I would entertain I'll entertain a motion that we vote for Sue Anderson as clerk. All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Congratulations, Sue, or are you? You're not up there yet.
Didn't give anybody a chance. Good evening. I'd like to open the floor to nominations for moderator of the 2018 Sherborn Citizens Caucus.
Janet Walsh again, and I would like to nominate George Fisk.
Okay. Are there any other nominations for moderator? Great. Hearing none, I will close the nominations and ask you to cast your vote. All those in favor of George Fisk's nomination for moderator, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any nays? Take it away.
Thank you, Sue. Well, when you came in, hopefully you checked in with the checkers and you got a ballot if you are a registered voter, and and you also got an agenda for this evening's meeting. The first thing I would ask you to do is to take note of important dates, the town election dates, and these are the ones that really relate to tonight's event. You should know that we will be receiving nominations and electing candidates for the various town boards positions that are up this year, that terminate this year. And if you are in fact a nominated and a candidate and you are successful tonight, your name will be placed on the ballot as a matter of course. We do need all candidates who are elected this evening to accept, and it's much easier for you if you decide you'd like to accept, and I hope you do, that you do so tonight. We have one of our committee members, Jennifer Bethel, who's standing in the rear over here, blonde hair, hand up in the air, and she is going to be chasing you down if you're not chasing her down, because those signatures that we don't get tonight, we will be having to work this weekend to try to get. If you are nominated and there's an election, a contest, and you are not successful, I certainly would encourage you to consider taking out nomination papers. And Carol Marple is as she is, and here's Carol on the aisle here. She does have nominating papers with her this evening, and I know that she'd be happy to see you if you want to take them out, and will be helpful. Again, take note, please, of the dates that are required for a date by which you need to take out papers and a date by which you need to turn them in. If for some reason you are here and you need to leave, then we ask that when you do so that you turn your ballot in. The same door you came in, that's the door you're going out. And we do need to keep track of who's here and who's not. So beginning with the nominations, the first order of business is to see if there are nominations for town moderator. The town moderator position is a one-year position. The incumbent is Mary Wolf, who is just finishing her first year. Nominations, Steve. Oh, if you would state your name.
Good evening, Stephen Leahy, 12 Woodland Street.
Okay, and Steve, what we're going to do is if there are any other nominations, we'll take them all, and then we'll, if there are, once we're completed with that, we'll ask if you'd like to say a few words. Are there any other nominations for town moderator? Oh, he didn't make his nomination yet? No. Steve, come on up, make a nomination. I'm just trying to help you out.
No worries. So Stephen Leahy, 12 Woodland Street. I nominate Mary Wolf for the position of moderator.
Good job. Are there any other nominations for moderator? If not, Steve, would you like to say a few words for your candidate?
Thank you. So a few words, statement of fact, if I may, and then an opinion or analysis. So Mary Wolf, our current town moderator, has lived in town with her husband Rob for 25 years, raised both her sons here. She was a technical writer for 15 years, also was a high school English teacher for 15 years. She served as department chair in her English department. Here in Sherborn, she has served as a volunteer in many capacities. Many of you know her from sitting up on stage as an advisory committee member or more recently as moderator. She also has served in the troop committee and the advancement chair for the troop committee for Troop 1 here. She was a great books teacher for 3 years at Pine Hill School herself. Subcommittee chair on the CSA. She spent a full term on the Friends of Sherborn Library, and she was a member of the communications committee of the library building project when that project was just underway. Additionally, and more important to me, is Mary's qualities and characteristics. I have had the privilege of working with Mary on the advisory committee for just a few years now. Mary shows a level of dedication, work ethic, the ability to dig into and find the nuances of any and all the issues that have faced the advisory committee over the years that I've known her. Mary is also someone capable of taking in others' informed opinions and including them in her analysis, which is a very valuable trait that I think a lot of people take for granted, but it's not always the case. And Mary is hardworking, and also she's a lot of fun. And that's my nomination.
Steve, thank you very much. Is Mary here? Mary, there you are. She's back in here. All right. I would ask that a motion be made that the nominations be closed and the clerk cast one ballot for Mary Wolf as town moderator. And a second? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Thank you very much. Congratulations again, Mary. Now, we're going to move on to selectmen, but before we do, I want to make a few comments about this because it may be a little confusing to some as to what we are doing. As I think most, if not all of you know, we did expand the Board of Selectmen numbers a couple of years ago by virtue of votes at town meeting from a 3-person board to a 5-person board. And we've done that successfully, I would say. We have had a couple of interesting events that took place over the course of this last year, however. One is that we had a selectman whose name is Mark Brandon, who, because of moving out of town, resigned as a member of the board. And we had a special election that was held in January to fill that position. And George Morrill was successful in doing that. And by filling that term through an election, his term now doesn't expire until 2020. More recently, we had another resignation from Sean Colleen, who was a member of the board, and his term was not to expire for another year, but because he did resign, there is a 1-year vacancy there. So we have a situation where we have Chuck Yon, who is the incumbent. His term is up, and that's a 3-year term that people will be running for, and then we will take separately a vote after that for the 1-year position. So we'll be voting on these separately. First, the 3-year position. Having said that, are there any nominations for the 3-year position as a member of the Board of Selectmen?
Nancy Hess, South Main Street. I'd like to nominate Chuck Yon.
Very good. Chuck Yon's name has been placed in nomination. Are there any other nominations for the 3-year term? If not, Nancy, do you have a few words you'd like to say about Chuck?
Well, I know that a whole lot of you already know what a special person Chuck is, but I'm going to remind you anyway. Chuck and Libby have lived in Sherborn for 30 years, and their 4 children all attended Pine Hill and the Dover-Sherborn schools. Chuck is a graduate of Harvard and an attorney. He asks that we please not hold either of those against him. His practice is focused on intellectual property licensing, and he has represented most of the research universities and many of the teaching hospitals in Boston and Worcester, as well as several dozen biotech, pharma, and technology startups. He's co-founder of 2 biotech companies and a co-founder of the Institute for Biomedical Entrepreneurship, which provides educational programs in the U.S. and Europe for biomedical researchers and innovators at universities, hospitals, pharmaceutical, and biotech companies. Chuck was an incorporator of New England Baptist Hospital for many years, an adjunct professor at Babson, a volunteer in the Harvard College Admission Office, co-chair of St. Teresa's Capital Campaign, and a member of the St. Teresa's Pastoral Council and Finance Committee. Chuck has served our community on the Sherborn Recycle Committee, the Advisory Committee, the Planning Board, the Sherborn Community Center Foundation Board, Governance Task Force Committee, in addition to the Board of Selectmen. For 14 years, he was a basketball coach of intramural and travel basketball teams and is proudest of being the co-commissioner of the Dover-Sherborn Youth Basketball Program for several years. During his recent tenure on the Board of Selectmen, he has brought serious consideration of the issues, offered thoughtful solutions to problems, not always unanimous in conclusion, but always civil discourse and an enduring sense of humor. I urge you to keep Chuck right where he is on the Board of Selectmen. Vote tonight and again on Tuesday, May 8th for Charles Yon. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. Is Chuck here this evening? Yes. There he is. Hi, Chuck. Okay. Entertain a motion that the nominations be closed. The clerk cast 1 ballot for Chuck Yon, Board of Selectmen, 3-year term. So moved. Second? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Thank you, Chuck. Now we're going to move on to the 1-year term for Selectmen. This is to fill the seat vacated by Sean Colleen. Are there any nominations?
Yes. Hi, my name is Mimi Creer. I live on Forest Street. I would like to nominate Frank Hook.
Very good. Are there any other nominations?
My name is John Higley, 14 Saddlebrook Road. I'd like to nominate Eric Johnson.
Are there any other nominations for the 1-year term? If not, then Mimi, would you like to say a few words about your candidate?
Yes, I would. Thank you. So as I said, my name is Mimi Creer. I live on Forest Street, and I'd like to nominate Frank for the 1-year position. Frank Hook embodies the qualities we need in government today. He's honest, intelligent, thoughtful, qualified, and he has a genuine love for his neighbor, and especially the town of Sherborn. Most of all, for me, Frank has a strong moral compass and a passion for children. Frank serves. He serves his family, his country, and our community. After 18 years in business, Frank transitioned into teaching and has taught high school chemistry for 11 years. He understands schools. He served on the Sherborn School Committee for 6 years. He understands and strives for healthy collaboration. He understands community. Frank has made an enormous impact on the town of Sherborn in this very building, the community center. He has served in many capacities, including president, and he has worked very hard to preserve this gem of a building and also making it a safe place for our youth. Together with Bill Caveney, Frank has led the Student Director Program and has empowered these students to gain leadership and civic skills, so beautifully witnessed tonight by Jack Green and Bryn Rocket. I know firsthand Frank was the brainchild behind the Jammin' in the Red event, which should be heralded for what many of us, parents and others, strive for, a place where teenagers can gather, be creative, and socialize in a safe place. Frank has also volunteered for years at St. Teresa Parish and also in Medway, where he teaches. He has started a new club giving students a safe place to build coping skills and lead lives of emotional stability and joy. I see this as a much-needed combination in our world today. I have personally worked with Frank Hook on the Dover-Sherborn Wellness Committee, where we did our best to take care of the whole child in our district. Frank understands and cares about town issues, the ones that impact all of us. As a 25-year resident, some of his top priorities are improving our town center, managing the town's building plans, and our tax rate. He has a vision for inclusivity in Sherborn. Service runs deep in the Hook family. His wife, Diana, is a retired colonel in the Army and served in Iraq for 7 years. His son is in education, and his daughter served in the Peace Corps in Cameroon, Africa. So you may ask, where is Frank Hook tonight? And for those of you who know him, he usually stands the tallest man in the room. Well, he is with that very important family in Washington, D.C., as his daughter is celebrating her engagement. So thank you for your listening ears. Frank Hook is a qualified candidate who brings a track record of caring for thy neighbor and building up the youth in our community to make the world a better place. And I can't resist by ending with a quote by Eleanor Roosevelt, who once told us, "The basis of world peace is the teaching which runs through almost all great religions in the world, love thy neighbor as thyself." Thank you.
Thank you, Mimi. John.
Thank you, John Higley. I'd like to nominate Eric Johnson for the caucus nominee for the one-year term of the Board of Selectmen. Eric was born and raised in Sherborn and is a certified professional engineer with a bachelor's degree from Tufts University and a master's from Idaho State University, not to mention his diploma from Dover-Sherborn. That's it. Eric is the city engineer for Framingham, where he manages the municipal engineering department and oversees roadway and utility improvements, asset management, financial and logistical planning, budget management, contract negotiation, easement and property acquisitions, and litigation support. He coordinates with other municipal departments and state agencies. He previously led a team to address failing infrastructure and state requirements in Framingham, during which time Framingham completed $200 million capital improvements and $30 million of additional grant funding. Eric's other work experience includes environmental assessment and remediation, treatment systems, and water supply. Eric has volunteered in Sherborn a lot. And in the 6 years I worked with Eric on the planning board, I found him to be objective, data-driven, well-informed, and always considered the importance of fairness, consequences, and the long-term goals. Eric knows planning. He knows our town laws, understands conservation and Board of Health regulations. He knows what a PUD is and Title V and rules of the scenic road. He knows a lot about our town. Eric has a lot of experience in town and city municipal government and operation in Sherborn. As I said, he's twice been elected to 3-year terms on the planning board and served in the water study and land acquisition committees. He'll bring valuable experience and knowledge to the Board of Selectmen. He drives a truck, he bicycles roads and trails all over town, and he and his wife go out to dinner at the Heritage. It's an honor to nominate Eric Johnson. Please elect him to be the caucus nominee for the one-year term of the Board of Selectmen.
Thank you. Are you nominating somebody else?
No, I'd like to second a nomination. Is that allowed?
We don't customarily do such things. We have a nomination. We have one nominating speech. Well, we've had other people who've asked the same, and I've indicated no.
Okay.
Sorry. But, okay. We have 2 names that have been placed in nomination. We've heard a talk on each one. Is Eric here this evening, John? There he is. Eric's in the back. Okay. And Frank obviously was unable to be here. So we are going to go to a ballot vote on this. And you should have ballots A, B, C, D, and E. And I'm going to be very clever and say, let's take ballot A. And we have pencils to pass around, or pens if you need that. But what I want to do is tell you once again that we need a number next to each one. Let's put the number 1 next to Frank and number 2 next to Eric. So if your candidate is Frank Hook, would you please place a 1 on the ballot? If it's Eric Johnson, then a number 2. And we will be collecting the ballots. The tellers will be collecting. Yeah, I know their preference is that you not fold them. I know people do fold ballots. I do it a lot. But their preference is, if you can stand it, to not fold your ballot. It makes it much easier for them to count. Okay. While the ballots are being counted, I did want to thank people who've been so helpful tonight. I know a number of you have already taken advantage of our refreshments, and that's great. We want you to, but I also want to thank the people who worked so hard to put that together, and which includes Ann Hovey, Chucky Blaney, Margot Powicki, and Marie Elwell. Thank you very much. And although they didn't provide any food, they did work, and those are our checker-inners, and that's Marianne Clancy, Renee Montella, Libby Yan, and Abby Fisk. And also our tellers, who are working hard now, Sam Van Blarkum, Stephanie Sugden, Ken Adams, and Hessie Sheldon. So thanks to them. I was also going to take the liberty of announcing something I probably shouldn't, but that's all right. I'm doing it anyway. I don't know if any of you have noticed, I've got my sheep tie on tonight. I'm also wearing my needlepoint farm belt, and I have my Douse's hat on. And the reason for all this is, if you don't know, I want you to know that although it's been 7 years in the making since the last one, we're going to have the Grange Fair again in September. So hope you will all participate. We have the results, which I'd like to share with you. We had 128 votes cast out of a possible 133. And Frank Hook received 69 and Eric Johnson 59. So Frank is the caucus nominee, and congratulations to Frank. And Eric knows, or should know, that he has certainly the ability to take out papers if he'd like, as does anyone here. Moving on, you will note in your program that under town treasurer, there was a resignation, and I only pointed out there is no need to elect anybody for that tonight. Heather Peck had been, her term was to expire in 2019. Heidi Doyle was appointed to serve until annual town meeting of 29. This is somewhat different than the other positions we have in town. Special legislation regulations allow for the appointment of the town treasurer to serve until the end of the normal term expiration. So moving down to the next position for us to consider is that of Board of Assessors. We have one 3-year term. Michael Goldstein is the incumbent. Do we have any nominations? Carol.
Carol Marple, Stony Brook Road. It is my honor to place in nomination the name of Michael Goldstein.
Michael Goldstein's name is placed in nomination. Are there any others? Would you like to say a few words about Michael?
More than a few. Today, March 1st, it has been 17 years since Michael moved to Sherborn, so he has an anniversary today. His wife is a PhD professor at Olin, and his daughter is a junior at Dover Sherborn. All 3 of them were born in the Boston area. Michael grew up in Newton, his wife in the South Shore, and of course his daughter grew up here in Sherborn. Michael is the only person in the 137-year history of Wharton School at the University of Penn in finance to hold all 4 degrees that they offer: his BS, MBA, MA, and PhD. He has served at Babson. He currently is at Babson College. He holds the Donald P. Babson Endowed Chair of Applied Investments and Professor of Finance. Faculty Director of the Masters of Science in Finance program, a former chair of the Finance Division, former chair of the Faculty Senate, and he has previously taught real estate classes at Babson. He is the chair of Financial Industry Regulatory Authority, FINRA, Economic Advisory Committee. He's the former chair of the NASDAQ Economic Advisory Committee. He is the former visiting economist to the New York Stock Exchange. At the University of Colorado at Boulder, he was an assistant professor of finance and assistant director of Real Estate Center. He is a former investment banker at Merrill Lynch, where he worked on a variety of large real estate deals. He's served Sherborn in a number of ways. He's currently the chair of the Assessors Board, just finishing up his 2-year term. He is the secretary of Sherborn's Public Safety Committee and a firefighter and EMT for the Sherborn Fire Department. He's currently the treasurer for the Sherborn Fire and Rescue Association, the former chair of Sherborn Housing Partnership, and a former member of the Elderly Tax Relief Committee. Michael must be pretty dedicated to public service. 2 years ago, while he was on a 6-month sabbatical in Sydney, he was nominated at this very caucus and later elected to the Board of Assessors, and he wasn't even able to vote for himself. If you check, Sydney is literally as far away on Earth as you can get from Sherborn, which just goes to show you that you just cannot escape the long arm of George Fisk and Jennifer Bethel. No matter how far away in the world you travel, they will find you and get you to serve Sherborn. Please cast your vote for Michael.
I remember that well. Thank you. There are no other nominations. I would entertain a motion the nominations be closed and the clerk cast 1 ballot for Michael Goldstein for assessor. Motion's made. Is there a second? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, thank you very much. Moving on to Sherborn School Committee, we have 2 positions. The incumbents are Greg Garland and Scott Embry, and it's for a 3-year term. Are there nominations?
Hi, I'm Jennifer Debin, 43 Woodland Street. I would like to nominate Amanda Brown.
Amanda Brown's name has been placed to nomination. Is there anybody else?
Hi, I'm Kate Potter from 4 Snow Street, and I'd like to nominate Megan Page.
Are there any other nominations? Would you like to each say a few words about your candidate?
Originally from Maine, Amanda Christie Brown is the daughter and granddaughter of public school teachers. A graduate of Wellesley College with a master's degree from Columbia University Teachers College, Amanda has taught for 20 years in schools from New York City to London to Dorchester. Currently, Amanda teaches English and advises the student newspaper at Wellesley High School. In Wellesley, she wrote a successful grant proposal to bring Stanford's Challenge Success program to the high school, and it is leading its implementation there. She has served on both school council and faculty senate, and currently represents the high school on the Superintendent's Advisory Committee on Social Emotional Learning. Outside the classroom, Amanda has been a writer for the New York Times Learning Network for over a decade. Throughout her career, Amanda has distinguished herself as a thoughtful, collaborative team member, an empathetic listener, and a strong communicator. Amanda and her husband, Jeff, live on Goulding Street with their 3 children, Jonah, a Pine Hill 4th grader, Lee, a first grader, and Susanna, an incoming kindergartner. The Browns are members of the Unitarian Universalist Area Church at First Parish here in Sherborn. Having volunteered at Pine Hill as a room parent, a Metco host, and a library helper, Amanda has had the opportunity to experience Pine Hill from within. She is running for school committee because she believes that children are Sherborn's most precious resource. Amanda is committed to the notion that public schools are the foundation for a healthy democracy. Amanda will work to ensure Pine Hill remains a place where education of the head and of the heart matter, a place where children are allowed to be children. As a member of school committee, Amanda will support district efforts to challenge conventional definitions of success and nurture a positive, inclusive community culture. She will advocate for excellence in education and fiscal responsibility to ensure that our school on the Hill continues to work better every day for every child. Thank you.
Is Amanda here? There's Amanda. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Megan Page has been a resident of Sherborn for 7 years. She currently has 3 children at Pine Hill, 1 in kindergarten, 1 in 3rd grade, and 1 in 5th grade. Megan is an active member of the Sherborn community, volunteering her time as a member of the Pine Hill Advisory Committee, through the CSA, and as a room parent. Outside Pine Hill, she has been the secretary of the Sherborn Yacht Club for a number of years. She is also a town soccer coach. Professionally, Megan has nearly 20 years of experience in communications. She has worked for both for-profit and nonprofit organizations in the fields including education, technology, healthcare, life sciences, and technology, which I said. Currently, she is the Director of Communications for the Charles River School in Dover. Prior to joining Charles River School, Megan served as a vice president for 2 strategic communication firms in Boston. She began her career at a public relations agency in San Francisco. Megan also served for many years on the board of Community Work Services, a nonprofit that enables homeless individuals become self-sufficient. She earned her bachelor's degree in communications from Miami University in Ohio. Megan sees Pine Hill as an exceptional community and school for our children and believes that it's important that we, as members of this community, continue to work to strengthen our schools. Her professional experience, combined with her personal experience at Pine Hill over the past 5 years, make her well-suited for this role. As a member of this committee, she will support decisions that are fiscally responsible for the town while advocating for the best education for our students. Megan has asked that I share this tonight. She regrets that she's unable to attend and appreciates your consideration for this nomination.
Very good. Thank you. I would now entertain a motion the nominations be closed and the clerk cast 1 ballot for each Amanda Brown and Megan Page for Sherborn School Committee. What did I do? Oh, thank you. Is there a second? All in favor? Anybody opposed? All right, thank you. Trustees of Solon Academy, we have one 5-year term. Georgia Bruggeman is the incumbent. Do we have any nominations? I see one coming.
Scott Embry, 36 Wildwood Drive. I'd like to nominate Georgia Brugman.
Thank you. Are there any other nominations? Would you like to say a few words?
It's my privilege as the chair of the Trustees of Solon Foundation to nominate Georgia Brugman for a re-election to another term on the committee. As a co-founder of Meridian Financial in Hopkinton, she brings tremendous benefit to the committee with her years in the financial industry. She's unable to attend tonight, but she appreciates your support for this election. Thank you.
Great. Thanks very much. Entertain a motion. The clerk cast 1 ballot. The nominations be closed. The clerk cast 1 ballot for Georgia Bruggeman for 1 5-year term on Trustees of Solon Academy. And second? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Thank you. Now, under library trustees, it needs a little explanation here as well. As you can see, There was a Stacy Brandon, by virtue of moving out of town, did resign. Her her term was to expire on 2019, and Lisa Schwartz was appointed to fill to the next annual election, which of course is this year. And in addition to that, we have 3 positions that are 3-year terms that expire this year. So we're going to take the 3-year terms first and the 1-year term subsequently. So I'm looking now for nominations for a 3-year term on the Board of Library Trustees. Mary.
Hi, Mary Moore, 49 Farm Road. I'd like to nominate Hank Roush.
Hank Roush has been nominated. Are there any other nominations?
Hank Roush, 47 Russet Hill Road. I'd like to nominate Chris Kenny.
Chris Kenny's been nominated. Are there other nominations?
And Mary Moore, 49 Farm. I'd like to nominate Lisa Schwartz. Oh, no, wait, sorry. You want to do that one? Yeah, sorry. Bruce is going to do that one.
What did you do wrong?
He's going to do Lisa.
He's going to do it. All right.
Yes. Bruce Ekman, 27 Woodland Street. I'd like to nominate Lisa Schwartz for a 3-year
Okay. So we have 3 nominations, 1 each for Lisa Schwartz, 1 for Chris Kenny, and 1 for Henry Roush. Are there any other nominations? All right. Mary, would you like to speak on at least one of those?
So Bruce is the longest-serving member of the library board with 20 years of service. He is a clinical psychologist who practiced and taught at New York University and then moved on to business consulting. Oh, I'm reading Bruce. I'm sorry. I apologize. I'm sorry. I apologize.
Right.
All right, I'm going to do Hank. Sorry about that. Hank is running for his 3rd term as a library trustee, and he's dedicated to seeing the library project through to a successful completion. He lives in Sherborn with his wife Susan and his 2 sons, Spencer and Mason, on Russet Hill Road. They've lived there for nearly 20 years. Hank is a portfolio manager in the investment department for Liberty Mutual Insurance. He has significant volunteer experience in Sherborn, including on the board and finance committee at the Unitarian Church, with the Cub Scouts, and as a Little League coach. And I think I speak for many of the trustees when I say how glad we are that Hank is willing to stay on the ride of the project for another 3 years.
Great. Hank, who are you going to talk about?
I'm going to talk about Chris Kenny, who's also coming back to serve a 3rd term for the library trustees. He's also a member of the library building committee. He's an architect, and he's been a linchpin to our success with the project. Chris is, for the last 2 years, as I said, he's been an invaluable member of the building committee, logging numerous hours, fulfilling both roles for the trustees. He is focused on the completion of the design, construction, contract bidding, etc. for the project. He's a registered architect. He's got over 30 years of experience in higher education and national and international projects. He's been a resident in town for 20 years.
Very good. Bruce.
I would like to nominate Lisa Schwartz. Lisa has been brought to our attention in terms of being able to help us with our fundraising, with a background in terms of development at a level that we have not had before. It's really remarkable. We are very fortunate to have her as part of our group. She's worked with MIT, she's worked with Harvard, she's worked with a number of different places that are doing fundraising, and as a consequence of that, we hope to bring our library to a completion with her help.
Very good. Now, is Lisa here? She's not. And Hank, we know you're here. And is Chris here? I didn't see Chris. No. Okay. So we have 3 candidates for 3 positions. That being the case, then again, I will entertain a motion the nominations be closed. Clerk cast 1 ballot for each of those 3 candidates. Moved second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Great. Now we're going to go for the 1-year term. Mary, you going to do that?
I'd like to nominate Bruce Ekman.
Bruce Ekman's name is placed in nomination. Are there any others? Okay, we've heard half of Bruce now.
All right. Well, he's the longest-serving member of the library board with 20-plus years of service. He's a clinical psychologist who practiced and taught at NYU. and then moved on to business consulting. As I said, he's lived in Sherborn since 1990. He's put 3 kids through the school system. He has 2 children who live in town and 6 grandchildren currently in the school. As chair of the board's technology committee, he brings his creative talents and innovative vision to every board meeting and to our important library project. When he told me that he was willing to run again for this one-year term, he said, "I'd like to finish the job and give the kids a place to hang out." He also told me that with all the fellow board members, he's enjoying the ride. And again, I think I speak for many of the trustees and many residents in town when we want to thank him for enjoying this ride for another year. Thanks.
Thank you. Entertain a motion. The nominations be closed. The clerk cast 1 ballot for Bruce Ekman for the 1-year term. Motion's made. Second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, thank you. Next page, Water Commissioner. Are there nominations? Roger. Darrell Beardsley is the incumbent. It's a 3-year term.
Roger Demler, 169 Maple Street, and a water commissioner. Darrell has retired from our august body to put more time into the Board of Health, which is probably more than she'd counted on. But I'm happy to nominate Frank Hess.
Frank Hess's name has been placed in nomination. Are there other nominations for Water Commissioner? Roger, would you like to speak about Frank?
Yeah, Frank has had a 39 career in education, winding up his career with being a principal. He then went on to the Sherborn School Committee, where he was chairman for a number of years. And recently he's been on the Town Center Wastewater Options Committee, where he's been really valuable. And he's still a member of the Pine Hills School Building Committee. So he's well qualified to figure out what we're going to do about downtown issues about water. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Is Frank here? There's Frank. Thank you. Entertain a motion. The nominations be closed. Clerk cast 1 ballot for Frank Hess for a 3-year term as a water commissioner. Motion made. Second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, thank you, Frank. And Cemetery Commissioner Susan Tyler is the incumbent. It's for a 3-year term. Nominations, please. Margot.
Margot Pawicki, Village Way. I'd like to nominate, I'm sorry. Margot Pawicki, Village Way. I'd like to nominate Susan Tyler.
Susan Tyler's name is placed in nomination. Are there any other nominations to be made? Margot, would you like to say a few words about Susan?
In 2014, Susan Tyler came onto the commission with a strong interest and background in cemetery management. During her tenure, she has undertaken numerous initiatives on behalf of Sherborn cemeteries. To name just a few, she has personally cleaned hundreds of headstones and coordinated efforts to restore others. Along with other members, she has coordinated extensive tree work, is working on implementing signage for each cemetery. She has photographed and inventoried burial plots in all of the 10 cemeteries. In addition, she has been working on GPS mapping issues, drainage and road issues, and has been a valuable resource and researcher for the Sherborn Historical Society, and most importantly, for families both near and far. The town of Sherborn is privileged to have a candidate who is willing to serve and work so tirelessly on the Cemetery Commission.
Great. Thank you, Margot. Susan, I know you're here. You were here. Where are you? There you are. Good. Thank you. Entertain a motion that the nominations be closed. Clerk cast 1 ballot for Susan Tyler for a 3-year term. Second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, congratulations, Susan. Sign that paper. Planning Board, William M. Dunham is the incumbent. It's for a 3-year term. And are there nominations for Planning Board? John.
John Higley, 14 Saddlebrook Road. I nominate Will Dunham.
Thank you. Are there other nominations for Planning Board? Would you like to say a few words about Will?
Well, I'm pleased to nominate Will as a candidate for the Planning Board. He completed his first year and has learned a lot. It's been a very busy year. And his, I think when I nominated him at caucus last year, I said he's a listen first, form an opinion second, and that certainly has served him well. And he's voted on complex issues and does so very carefully. So it's just what we want from every candidate here tonight. So I'm pleased to nominate him for the planning board.
Thank you very much. There being no, is he here? There he is. Good. Well, thank you. There being no further nominations, and entertain a motion that the nominations be closed. Clerk cast one ballot for Will Dunham for a 3-year term on the planning board. Moved, seconded. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Thank you. And Dover-Sherborn Regional School Committee, Michael Lee is the incumbent. It's for a 3-year term. There's one position. Nominations, please.
Barbara Ambos, I nominate Judy Miller. I'm of Everett Street.
Okay. Judy Miller's name is placed in nomination. There are others.
Greg Garland, 133 Hollis Street. I nominate Vicki Rellis for Regional School Committee.
Vicki Rellis has been nominated for Regional School. Are there any other nominations? Barb, do you have some comments you'd like to make about Judy?
I nominate Judy Miller to serve as a member of the Dover-Sherborn Regional School Committee. For those who don't know Judy Miller, she has excellent knowledge, skills, and experience to serve as a member of the Regional School Committee. This includes practicing labor and employment law for over 30 years. She has experience in union negotiations, benefits, and other employment issues. She runs her own small business, Miller Employment Law, and understands the importance of fiscal responsibility. She served as the president of the Dover-Sherborn High School Friends of the Performing Arts, also known as FOPA, for 3 years, in 2014 through 2017, and as its vice president for 2 years, 2012 through 2014. This year, she still continues her volunteer work for the middle school and high school plays and musicals, and remains connected to these schools. Judy served on 2 previous Dover-Sherborn Regional School District search committees for assistant superintendent in 2013 and the middle school high school choral teacher search in 2014. Prior to her work with FOPA, she served on the Town of Sherborn Personnel Board for about 3 years. Judy and her husband, Bill Caveney, moved to Sherborn for about 15 years ago because of the public schools, and both of their children, Drew and Hannah Caveney, were educated in the Dover-Sherborn public schools. Judy understands that while fiscal responsibility is critical, continuing to provide an exceptional education to our students is paramount. She knows that as our world rapidly changes, we must step up to those changes. For example, by improving our technology and engineering offerings, and by continually re-examining the safety and security of our facilities. We must also focus on the social and emotional well-being of our students so that no child falls through the cracks and all the students are able to take advantage of everything our system has to offer. Judy believes in excellence, creativity, and consensus. She will make an exceptional member of our regional school committee, and I urge you to vote for her.
Thank you, Barb. Greg?
Thank you. Vicki's completing her 6th year on advisory, and for the last 3 years she served as advisory's liaison to the Sherborn School Committee, and she's been to virtually every meeting, including the joint school meetings over the last 3 years. I've been on the Sherborn School Committee for 6 years, serving as chair for the last 2, so she and I have had many conversations, and I know well that she has a deep understanding of how the schools work and is committed to maintaining the high-quality environment that we're so proud of. Vicki's been a resident of Sherborn for 17 years. She has 2 children who both went through the DS system. During that time, she served as president of the DS PTO and spent several years as a substitute teacher in both Dover and Sherborn. She has a BS in education and was a teacher in Plymouth for several years before starting a successful business career. Vicki has management experience in business ranging from startups to large corporations as well as volunteer groups. Vicki has the perfect combination of experience to sit on the regional school committee. She knows how the town works from her 6 years on advisory. She has inside knowledge of how the schools work from her time as an educator in our system and others. And she has witnessed for 3 years how the school committee provides oversight of the system while working with the administrative team due to her time as advisory liaison. Vicki is the best qualified candidate for school committee that I have seen by far, and we're incredibly fortunate that she's willing to serve. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, I think both Judy and Vicki are here. Judy, would you raise your hand or stand? There you are. That's Judy. And Vicki, you're here. There's Vicki. Okay. Thank you. So there's only one position, so we are going to move to ballot vote. And again, this time we're taking B, and you are putting either a 1 or a 2 if you are voting. 1 for Judy Miller and 2 for Vicki Relis. Again, the tellers I know would very much appreciate if you didn't fold your ballot. Judy, if you were voting for Judy, then you would put a 1 on your ballot. If you're voting for Vicki Relis, you would put a 2. You put both on, that's invalidated the ballot. I have the results of that vote. Before I give you the results, there are 2 people I neglected to thank who are here every year and very helpful. And one certainly is Pat Cassell and the other Brad Crandall, and we appreciate both of you and your efforts in organizing all this. For Dover-Sherborn Regional School, there were 126 ballots cast. Judy Miller with 75, Vicki Relis with 51. So, thank you very much. We will move on to Board of Health. And the wrinkle this year, for those of you who don't know, is the Board of Health has been expanding from a 3-person board to a 5-person board, but doing it over a 2-year period. This is the second and final year of getting to a 5-person board. So it was a 4-person. We have Rebecca Honeywell is the incumbent, and of course there is no incumbent for the new position. So we have 2 positions to fill. Are there nominations for Board of Health? Yes.
Hi, I'm Lisa Camp from Western Ave, and I would like to nominate Rebecca Honeywell for the Board of Health.
Rebecca Honeywell's name is placed in nomination. Carol?
Carol McGarry, also from Western Avenue, and I would like to nominate David Sawson.
David Sawson's name is placed in nomination. Are there any others? If not, Lisa, would you like to say a few words about Rebecca?
Sure, thank you. As many of you know, Rebecca has served on the Board of Health for 3 years and currently holds the position of vice chair. And she brings her medical background, compassion, and thoughtfulness in her deliberations, and her skills and experience really complement others on the board. We have a lot of different sort of talents and expertise on the board, and Rebecca is really naturally curious, and she's a person of great integrity. As way of background, Rebecca is a native New Englander. She grew up in the area in Wellesley and went to college in Vermont at Bennington College. And her interest in public health and medicine began in high school, actually, where she did some volunteering work both in rural Mexico and then later at a hospital in Haiti. And she ended up going to the Medical College of Pennsylvania and trained in internal medicine in Boston at BU and Tufts, and then Columbia University in New York. And then after she got that degree, she did a couple of fellowships, including in San Francisco, and then additional training at UMass and another fellowship at the Leahy Clinic. All told, Rebecca has been practicing medicine and surgical dermatology for 25 years and is currently in private practice. She's lived in Sherborn for 20 years. She loves New England, and she appreciates Sherborn, especially after having lived in numerous, cities across the country. So since her children have gone to college, she's glad to volunteer in the Board of Health and get involved with the town to help address our public health interests and to protect our natural resources. Her clinical experience involves public health at many levels, and she tries to share that knowledge as a board member. Rebecca uses a science-based approach for her evaluations and board manners and remains focused on the board's mission to address and protect the public health interests of the town to the best of her ability. Some areas of particular interest that I've noticed Rebecca really bringing to the fore, obviously, is minimizing the potential for contagious diseases and illness. She's done some interesting, well, she's obviously volunteered at the flu clinic. Apparently, she does give shots as well. Matt does not give the shots. And she also is interested in evaluating things like virus mobility in septic systems, which is another important issue. And she also enjoys doing research on contaminants in groundwater, which is really helpful to the committee. Rebecca also helps to facilitate and enhance communications with the other town boards, as well as with people in the town to address their interests and concerns. In closing, I know Rebecca will work tirelessly to maintain our public health and protect the town's valuable water resources. She has served the town well, takes the time to listen to and thoughtfully respond to residents' questions and concerns, and I hope she gets your support to continue her contribution to the board.
Thank you. Carol?
I'd like to nominate David Sossin for Board of Health. David grew up in Sherborn. As a boy, he explored Sherborn's woods, fields, and swamps, mapping out paths, building forts, camping out with friends, and generally having fun. His childhood sparked a lifelong love of the outdoors. After graduating from Dover-Sherborn High School, David earned his bachelor's degree in chemistry at Case Western Reserve and his MBA at MIT's Sloan School. One of his first professional jobs was with a company that made telemetry systems for monitoring underground storage tanks and pipes. David learned about the problems of leaking tanks and remediation of contaminated sites. He designed and supervised the installation of systems at military bases, gas stations, and corporate sites. Much of David's career has been in senior management, at McKinsey as a consultant, at the United Way as chief operating officer, and at Arthur D. Little as a general manager and vice president. He has also played important roles in the innovation community in Boston. As the co-founder and CEO of TerraDiode, an advanced laser company that was sold to Panasonic, and then at MIT as technology licensing officer, where he was responsible for patenting and licensing inventions in the physical sciences, engineering, and defense technologies. He retired from MIT in 2017. David is following in his father's footsteps in turning to public service. David's father co-founded Sherborn Forests and Trails, and he was a multi-term member of Sherborn's school committees. David is an independent thinker who enjoys finding solutions to complex problems through scientific analysis and innovation. He brings to public service a lifelong love of Sherborn's natural beauty, balanced with a scientific approach to protecting the town's groundwater. He has no potential conflicts of interest in regards to the various large developments that are currently before the board. Knowing David, I see him as a man who is honest, smart, and independent and would be a great addition to the board. So please join me in supporting David Sossin as caucus candidate for Board of Health.
Very good. Before we go to a vote, I just want to recognize each of them. Rebecca, I see you're back here. Raise your hand. And David, you're here as well. So good. There are no other nominations. There are two positions. I would entertain a motion which has just been made. Clerk cast, well, the nominations be closed. Clerk cast one ballot for each of them for the Board of Health for a 3-year term. Is there a second? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Congratulations. Moving on to Recreation Commission. Leo Kavanaugh is the incumbent. Are there nominations for Recreation Commission?
Sorry. I'm Sarah O'Connell from 101 Farm Road, and I'm speaking on behalf of my husband. He gave me this really pale pink piece of paper, so let me just find my flashlight. Oh, I have to nominate Gavin Mish.
Gavin Mish is being nominated. Are there any other nominations for Recreation Commission? Hearing none, would you like to say a very few words about
I really
Gavin
don't
Mish?
like speaking in public, but I will. Gavin has been a resident of Sherborn for 8 years. He and his wife, along with their 3 children, ages 11, 8, and 6, are immersed in sports and recreation activities throughout the town. Gavin's list of recreation activities in town includes volunteer coordinator and coach of the kindergarten T-ball program for 4 years, currently the assistant coach for the high school baseball team, volunteer coach for one of the 5th grade girls travel basketball teams, was last year's 1st grade coordinator for the Dover Sherborn baseball program as well as a coach. How do you have any time? Was last year's 1st grade coordinated and coached last year's 2nd grade summer sparkler baseball program, and this year's 2nd grade coordinator for Dover Sherborn baseball. His family's footprint is on almost every sport, with his oldest daughter playing town and club soccer and travel basketball, his son playing basketball and baseball, and his youngest daughter playing soccer and lacrosse. He looks forward to being able to help the town and rec committee to move forward and help improve the sports and recreation experience for everyone. That's it.
Thank you. Is Gavin Mish here? There he is. Thank you. Again, motion has been made here, I can see it, that the nominations be closed. The clerk cast 1 ballot for Gavin Mish for 3-year term on the Recreation Commission. There's a second in here somewhere. All in favor, please say aye. Anybody opposed? Congratulations. We're getting very close. Now, last order of business, unless anybody has anything else, is to see if we can elect the caucus committee for the ensuing year, 2018 to 2019. Are there nominations? Are there nominations? Are there nominations?
Libby Yon, 116 Maple Street. I nominate Janet Walsh.
Janet Walsh has been nominated. Another one, please.
Janet Walsh, Wood Road. I nominate Jennifer Bethel.
Jennifer Bethel. Is there a third?
Janet Walsh, I would like to nominate George Fisk.
Okay. Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, do you want to speak anything about any of those people? Or? No, I don't think so. Okay, then that being the case, then I would entertain a motion that nominations be closed. Clerk cast 1 ballot for each of those 3 candidates for the caucus committee. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Thank you. I consider this meeting adjourned. Thank you.